Have you ever felt that life was quietly guiding you towards something greater, as if invisible hands were preparing your heart for a love unlike anything you've known before? A love that does not come with drama or illusion, but with depth, truth, and transformation. There are times in life when everything seems to pull us into silence, away from noise, shallow ties, and routines that feel empty. In that quiet space of stepping back, many experience a deep restlessness, as if something inside the soul is being rearranged. When God, or what Jung described as the deep unconscious, begins to prepare us for real love, the signs cannot be overlooked. They show up again and again, shifting our vision, demanding inner surrender, and dissolving the false pictures we once carried. True love is never built on illusions, but on the union of all the parts of who we really are. And this preparation, even though it may feel subtle, is powerful, transforming, and in the end, unavoidable. If you are walking through this silent but intense path, this message will uncover the signs that continue to appear when real love is near. If you resonate with this, share in the comments. I am ready to welcome the love that changes everything. And remember to like, subscribe, and add your thoughts in the comments. Your support strengthens this space of awareness and allows us to keep creating and sharing messages like this. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, the journey toward true love starts within. Before we can live a deep connection with someone else, we must first travel through the corridors of our own psyche, face our shadows, notice our projections, and move toward individuation, which is the process of becoming whole. When we talk about signs that prepare us for love, we are really noticing the symbolic movement of the soul toward integration. The shadow represents all that we deny, reject, or repress inside ourselves and often project outward onto others. Shallow or short-lived relationships usually rise from this very dynamic. We expect another person to fill what we are missing without realizing it. The path of preparing for true love, however, demands that we withdraw these projections. It is a brave step of self-awareness. We begin to see that what we chase outside must first be faced and welcomed within. Another key concept Jung gave us is anima and animus, the hidden feminine and masculine sides present in everyone. The path toward genuine love requires these energies to find balance inside us. When that harmony happens, we stop searching for unconscious compensation through a partner and begin to connect from a more mature and authentic place. God, or what Jung called the self, the inner image of wholeness, guides us through this process, and it usually happens through silence, separation, solitude, and even through pain. These experiences are not punishments but invitations into transformation. The signs that keep repeating themselves are signals of this calling, pointing to the need to prepare for something higher, a love that mirrors the wholeness we are slowly building. At the start of every path toward real love, there is an essential stage, the withdrawal of projections. Jung explained projections as the unconscious parts of ourselves we unknowingly place on other people, especially in romance. When we meet someone and feel an instant spark or an overwhelming connection, often we are standing in front of a mirror of our own unrecognized aspects. Sudden passion, sudden enchantment, those strong feelings are often signals that projection is at work. This movement is natural in the early phases of relationships, but if not seen and understood, it usually turns into frustration and separation. When God, or the self, begins to prepare us for deeper love, one of the first signs is the breaking down of these perfect images. People who once seemed flawless show their human side, or they simply fade from our lives. What leaves us is not real love, but the illusion that dissolves. This stage can be painful. When our ideals fall apart, it touches our old wounds, It wakes feelings of rejection and abandonment, and it may appear as if we are moving backward. Yet, in truth, this is the first step into something deeper. It is the beginning of our ability to love another person as they really are, not as we imagine them to be. When projection ends, real vision begins, and with clear vision, love becomes more genuine. The fading of projections is often followed by a deep emptiness. What once looked full of promise now feels far away. But this emptiness is rich ground. It draws us inward. We begin to see that the energy and passion we were chasing outside needed to be found within. At this point, many start to question, to search for self-knowledge, to explore spirituality, meditation, or therapy. All of this is part of preparation. Jung often said that every true meeting with another is first a meeting with ourselves. When we stop expecting others to save us, fix us, or take away our loneliness, we create space for real love to appear. A love that does not come to lift us out of emptiness, but to walk beside us on a conscious path. The withdrawal of projections also teaches us to love without the heavy burden of expectation. We begin to realize the other person is not responsible for our happiness, and that loving is to accept the other as a being still unfolding, just as we are. This recognition changes everything. It softens fear, eases pressure, and quiets impatience. True love has no need to rush. It grows slowly, fed by presence, listening, and honesty. This stage is one of the strongest signals that we are being shaped for something greater. Past relationships may have been our teachers of what love is not, and now, with no illusions, with clearer eyes and an open heart, we can notice the signs of love drawing near. A love that does not force itself on us, but arrives with calm and peace. This awakening to real love is not some sudden explosion that happens all at once, but more like an inner building process that unfolds slowly. It shows up in little choices, in quiet moments, in silences, in understandings that rise without needing words. We notice it when we feel less desperate to find someone and more devoted to becoming a fuller version of ourselves. That is when we know we are on the right path. Real love starts in this way, with the courage to stop throwing our desires onto others, and with the openness to look within. And in that inward look, the soul prepares itself to love with truth. Preparing for real love demands more than just the longing to be with another person. It calls us to meet face to face with what we usually try hardest to avoid inside ourselves. That hidden place is what Jung called the shadow. Carl Jung described the shadow as the collection of repressed parts of our personality, the feelings, urges, desires, and memories that we judge to be unacceptable and buried deep into the unconscious. Yet pretending the shadow isn't there doesn't erase it. Instead, it sneaks into our actions, into the choices we make, and especially into the ways we connect with others. When life begins preparing us for true love, one of the most powerful and transforming steps is the confrontation with this denied, darker side. This meeting with the shadow doesn't always arrive in a direct way. Sometimes it comes through another person, a partner who sparks anger, jealousy, insecurity, or fear. Other times, it happens within ourselves. We catch sight of old patterns repeating again: sabotage, neediness, pride, or the urge to control. Seeing these traits hurts, but that pain is necessary for growth. The shadow is not evil in itself. It simply contains the sides of us that got pushed away, often because of trauma, strict upbringing, or society's demands. Facing the shadow is the road toward wholeness. When we are able to look at those parts without harsh judgment, we begin to make peace with our own humanity, and by learning this, we also gain the ability to look at others with greater kindness and patience. Because only when we can accept our flaws, Do we have the strength to accept someone else's flaws without turning them into constant battles? This is where true closeness is born. Real intimacy is not only about sharing joy and good times, but about remaining present when we or the other person are vulnerable. The kind of love that lasts is not the one that keeps us smiling all the time, but the one that gives us space to stand whole before another person, with both our brightness and our shadows. And we can only reach this place after walking through our own inner journey. God, or the deeper self, brings us into this confrontation not to punish us, but out of profound love. Life allows us to face our own hidden abysses so we can clear them before joining fully with another soul. Whatever stays hidden turns into an unseen wall, quietly blocking and breaking our attempts at real connection. Meeting the shadow, then, becomes a rite of passage. It's not about killing off the shadow, but about joining with it. We begin to recognize that even in those dark corners there is power, creativity, and vitality. Although this is an inner transformation, it always shows on the outside. As we integrate what we once rejected, we start to draw people who are more in tune with our truth. We learn to say no more clearly, not because of bitterness, but from self-respect. We see that not every bond is meant to hold a soul that has faced itself. With that awareness, our ability to love becomes deeper, less clinging, more presence, less emptiness, more surrender. The shadow also reveals to us the idea of limits. It points out where we were hurt, where we manipulated others, where we silenced our own feelings in order to gain approval. Bringing these truths to light makes us more sincere, more ethical, and more real. And it is only through this raw honesty that true intimacy can grow. To stand emotionally uncovered in front of someone else and still feel worthy of being loved, that is a revolution of the heart. And it is exactly this kind of love that life is preparing us to experience. So if you find yourself facing old wounds, repeating patterns you thought were already healed, or dealing with emotions you believed were long gone, understand this. It is not a setback, it is a sign. It means true love is drawing near, not because you need to be perfect or flawless, but because you are ready to see yourself with clear eyes. When the shadow is welcomed and integrated, it no longer chains us. Instead, it releases us. And that freedom becomes the soil where real, lasting, and profound love takes root. In Jung's view of the mind, another essential truth appears. Every human carries both feminine and masculine aspects within. He gave these inner forces names: anima, the feminine side in men, and animus, the masculine side in women. These archetypes are not tied to physical gender, but to symbolic patterns that live in the unconscious of everyone. To unite these two sides is key for becoming whole. And only from that inner balance can we step into true love. For much of our lives, though, we project these inner forces outward onto other people. A woman may look for her ideal man to carry the strong, steady, guiding animus she has not yet built within. Sometimes it even shows up as a harsh or critical animus, depending on how it formed in her unconscious. A man, on the other hand, might project onto a partner the beauty, tenderness, intuition, and emotional depth he has not awakened in himself, qualities that belong to his anima. These projections easily turn into unrealistic expectations and unstable relationships. We start demanding from the other what is actually our own responsibility to grow and develop inside. When God, or life itself, begins preparing us for authentic love, one of the deepest steps is the call to integrate these inner masculine and feminine parts. Through trials, heartbreaks, disappointments, and challenges, we start to see that depending on another person to awaken our inner strength or inner softness will no longer work. These forces must rise from within us. Slowly, we begin to nurture the qualities we once searched for outside. Emotional balance, intuition, sensitivity, confidence, presence, clear reasoning, deep listening, and protective strength. This is not achieved in a single day, but through a constant journey of self-regulation and soul growth. Such inner harmony transforms us in profound ways. A woman who embraces her inner masculine expands her vision of love. She no longer waits for someone else to play the role of savior or guide. She walks her own path with independence while still honoring her sensitivity. A man who meets his inner feminine begins to relate to life and emotions with greater empathy and intuition, creating space for deeper listening and more genuine bonds. Both start to love from wholeness, not from emptiness. This inner maturity shifts the very way we connect. We no longer search in another for the missing father or mother, nor an idealized reflection of unconscious longings. Instead, we seek a partnership where two aware individuals walk together, knowing that real love cannot survive when built on dependency. Mature love arises from balance, between giving and receiving, between yielding and standing firm, between nurturing and setting boundaries. And this wisdom comes from uniting these inner opposites. Another deep effect of this integration is the awakening of purpose. When the feminine and masculine find harmony in our psyche, we feel more grounded, more inspired, more in tune with our life's mission. Jung said, "The self, the center of inner wholeness, can only fully appear when these parts are in balance." This balance directly shapes the quality of our relationships because we begin to choose not from emptiness, but from resonance. The other is no longer a patch to cover our wounds, but a mirror of our inner state. Being ready for true love is also an invitation to spiritual maturity. It is not romantic in the shallow sense, but sacred in its depth. A relationship stops being just a place for pleasure and becomes a ground for mutual growth. To sustain such a union, one must first walk the inner path that unites within us the feminine and masculine, intuition with logic, gentleness with clarity, receptivity with firmness. When this joining takes place inside, the love that emerges outside is entirely different. It does not come to fill emptiness, but to broaden horizons. It does not distance us from ourselves, but anchors us more deeply in who we are. And maybe this is the clearest sign that true love is close, when we no longer want someone to rescue us, but instead long to live together in growth and shared transformation. There are times in life when everything seems to move to a hidden rhythm, when small events take on extraordinary meaning, and random meetings carry a symbolic weight too strong to dismiss. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences without direct cause that reveal an unseen order, as if life itself was speaking to us through symbols, encounters, sensations, and unusual events. When we are being prepared for true love, these synchronicities multiply, showing that something greater is unfolding. They often come in moments of inner stillness, when we are no longer chasing love, but letting life flow with deeper awareness. In this stillness, the self, the symbol of wholeness and the divine spark within, starts to guide our path more clearly. The self does not shout, it whispers. And to hear it, we need silence, not only outer silence, but the quiet inside that comes when we release urgency, fear of loneliness and anxiety, opening ourselves to what is yet to arrive. In this time, many notice repeated signs. A song plays at just the right moment. A line in a book stands out as if written for you alone. A chance meeting awakens forgotten feelings. Or a strong sense arises that something is about to happen, though you cannot say what. These signals should not be forced or turned into superstition. Yet when noticed with presence and attention, they can be recognized as messages from the unconscious, reminding us we are aligned with the right path. Along with synchronicities, this preparation stage is marked by a new kind of quietness. It is not empty loneliness, but fertile solitude. You start to enjoy your own company. You rediscover small joys. You awaken old interests. Your inner life blossoms, and with that comes the realization that love is not a missing piece, but a possibility once you become whole. This change of view is one of the strongest signs that true love is near, because desperation fades and is replaced by readiness. In this calm openness, the self arranges life with symbolic precision. Some people drift away, others return. Certain bonds dissolve softly, others with pain, but every shift is part of the restructuring. It feels as though life itself is clearing the ground, removing emotional and spiritual clutter so something new may grow. And the new only flourishes in a heart that is not chained to the past, nor frozen by fear of the future. Jung taught that the self acts like an inner compass, guiding us toward wholeness. When we align with it, outer experiences begin to mirror this inner order. True love, seen this way, is not only emotional but also spiritual. It is the meeting of two beings who have answered the call of their own soul. And such a meeting is never accidental. It comes when both are prepared to see in one another not salvation, but the mirror of their own path. It is important to remember that this silent preparation is not idle waiting. Rather, it is a time of rich inner work. It is when we heal old wounds, care for our inner world, reshape how we see ourselves and others. It is when we stop measuring love by outside approval and begin trusting the subtle wisdom that rises within. True love does not grow in noise, but in stillness. It does not arrive in haste, but with purpose. When you start noticing synchronicities around you, when silence feels like peace and not emptiness, when your heart is steady even without guarantees, then you will know the self is leading you. And when love appears on this path, it is more than a relationship. It becomes a mirror of the change already alive within you. True love is not found by accident. It reveals itself when you are ready to truly see it. The road to such love begins not with another, but with the inner journey into yourself. When God, or the self, as Jung described, prepares us for this love, there are no shortcuts, but only processes. The letting go of projections, the facing of the shadow, the uniting of inner feminine and masculine, and the silent signs that rise in harmony with the soul's maturity are the marks of a transformation that shifts how we stand before life and relationships. To love in truth is an act of awareness, not of need. It is a state of presence born from wholeness, not from lack. The signs that appear on this path are not ordinary coincidences. They are the whispers of the soul saying that love is already taking shape. If you feel yourself moving through this transition, know this: you are not alone, and the process carries deep purpose. Trust life's timing. Trust love's timing. If these words reached you, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. This video you are watching may be the next step in your path of self-discovery and transformation.